how are you?
Hi, Karen. I'm good. How are you?
Thank thank you for taking the time to speak with me. I appreciate it. Okay, so I wanted to get started asking about the development of the film and working with the writer to really create the story. What was your collaboration together to create the story for the film?
So I think when I read the script, we wanted to. I felt that this has great potential to be made on a very independent budget, like as an independent film. Firstly, there was a lot of potential to kind of push myself, in terms of the filmmaking without it being like blatantly visible that this is filmmaking types. um we had like multiple rounds of rewrites because when I read the script, and we wanted to film this by end of 2023. That was like our goal. So and we wanted the script to be at a certain stage before we felt, okay, you know what, we can now go and film the project. So yeah, and I think like around July time we had a draft which we felt was okay. I think this is something. I think at this stage, we can actually start casting. We could start hiring crew members to prepare for the November shoot. But I think like with Angus we just kept rewriting to just make it as good as possible, so that we have a good product in the end. But yeah, Angus was very helpful with uh, you know being cooperative with respect to the rewrites and stuff. Yeah.
While you were working on getting the film made and really getting the story together, what kind of research did you maybe do as as the director to really understand like the aftermath and trauma of school shootings? Was that something that you felt was really important to do research for the script as well?
No, definitely. I think I have been living in US for a while, right? So I've been here for around 11 years now. So I am aware of the school shootings happening. But in terms of this script, I did have like a problem going on with the neighbor, and I at one point I kind of felt very unsafe, where and I vacated the house. And I think that was the time when I was reading the script. But in I think that's what kind of also made me want to do this film, really, because it was very personal in a sense. Like, at least when I read the script for the first time, I saw it from a third person's perspective. But as an outsider, when I'm starting to have that fear, I thought, okay, you know what, I think maybe not today, but someday this could be my story as well. So that's what made me want to like keep working on the script. In terms of the preparation, I think I wanted to watch more films that was based on school shootings, and just kind of see how the other directors tackled the situation. But I think for this film the reference point, I'm not sure if it. I think Mass existed as like a one location film where you have two sets of parents talking, but for this kind of film where it deals with a broken ex-cop, there is very little reference point. So I think whatever you have based off the script, you just try going there. And I think we found the film as we kept going on. Like, for example, Leonard deals with grief in his own possible way. The script had Gerald also dealing with grief in his own possible way, but how do we make it like self-deprecating? How do we say Gerald thinks he's a joke written by God? Stuff like that. So you show same two sad state of mind, but then like you show it slightly differently, so the emotion doesn't really feel the same throughout the scene. It kind of oscillates a bit. So this is the kind of research we did. But I think the core idea itself was from the Parkland high school shooting.
once you began shooting the movie, what was your experience and approach to directing the movie as well?
So I think because it's independent, we just didn't have option to film this like in 20 days or 30 days. We had to go fast. So we hired actors who would be, single take or two take actors, who would be very cooperative on set. With respect to the first AD, we just hired everybody who we thought would do like a great job, just be working tirelessly for the 12 hours of shoot time. And Yeah, I think like we did have a plan, like, and I think we executed to the T. It felt very daunting when when people heard about it, like, oh, how are you even going to do this? But I think if you have a great crew, you have a great cast, I think anything is possible. And I think I have to even thank my producer Nicole. We actually had 11 days of shoot originally, but then she reduced it by 1 day, saying that it is possible. And one advantage I think with respect to these things is, um, I didn't go to like a film school. I don't have a film school degree. The producer, who she studied at LA Film, so we at least I don't operate on that a film school set really, like where you are given crew members, you have to shoot, you have like your regular, everything is being told in terms of what you need to do. There's like a process being followed. I started making my first short film with just one other crew member who was like the actor, and I was the guy who photographed stuff. So with each short film, I kept increasing the crew members. So when until I made my feature film, I didn't have a first AD on set. I didn't have a script supervisor on set. So I knew whom to hire to make my job easier. So that way we could even reduce the number of people on set. The maximum we had on set is 17 people, including cast members. So I think even my producer not having the proper film school education, like people get in top film schools, it helped us be very economical with the filming in terms of the equipment used, in terms of the crew members hired, so we could keep the cost also down without like going over budget.
And speaking about the actors, how did you decide who you wanted to cast in the main roles, especially? What was the casting process like for the film?
Yeah, I think with Leonard, I needed someone who'd be like very vulnerable, who's highly flawed, who gets this character in depth. And I think Nick really brought that vulnerability to his part. The casting for Ben, for Gerald's part, was the most challenging, because I think this is the role that kind of makes or breaks the film. Because I mean, when you tell, when you pitch this film to anybody, they're like, why would I go and support like an ex-cop? Like, why would I do that? Like, so he brings that empathy to this character. And you try understanding his perspective as well. And I think the film highly, it's it's highly dependent on his role. So I think Ben also was very flexible with respect to what he wanted to do with, like what I wanted him to do with the role. Like, for example, if it's a self-deprecating cop, we just figured that out like during the rehearsal stage. And he was like, okay, you know what, this is also my personality. Like, I do joke during like times of distress, so let me just bring this in, and see how the same scene plays out. So that's what you see in the scene with Bradbury, where Gerald is highly self-deprecating, and you see that being repeated throughout the film. Also in the conversation with Leonard, when Leonard's outside Gerald's house. Um, for the most, I would say, I did say Gerald was very challenging, but I would say the most challenging role to cast was for the therapist role. We were surprised by the entries we received, and very few people were able to get Bradbury's state of mind as a therapist. And I think whatever you see in the film, I think Laura did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
to capture the empathy that the therapist has, to really understand what these two men are talking about. There are people like Bradbury who exist in the real world who help so many survivors, victims, to come out of their trauma.
And once the actors signed on, how did you work with them to build the characters? Did you have any rehearsal time while you were working with them?
Yeah, I think like I just want to have like one round of rehearsal, just to go just do like we had a reading session first with like the entire cast and crew. Then we had a bunch of like just one day of rehearsal for Leonard, Bradbury, for Leonard, Amanda. They were all cooperative. I think those scenes were like pretty straightforward in terms of like just getting the cast to vibe together, and everything was done. I think with the Gerald, Bradbury is where like we had to kind of like put in slightly more effort to understand who Gerald is, what's going to happen with his character, because of the significance of this role.
And how did you decide where you were going to film the movie? Was there any particular location that you felt would be the right fit, or what was that experience like as well in location scouting?
In the location scouting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just wanted we just wanted obviously real locations, and I think like for example, if you notice, the Leonard's house obviously is bigger than Gerald, but I think even Gerald's house has a personality to it. The way the colors are even there in the house, like you see a mix of blue, you see blue, you see green, you see red, has different shades. Whereas for Leonard, it's slightly more plain, which is dominated by like production design elements. Um, so yeah, I think we just wanted to show like the class differences between like class difference between Leonard and Gerald. With Bradbury, with Bradbury's office, we wanted something that's not very fancy because it's taking place in an unnamed town in US. So it shouldn't be like super fancy. It should be very grounded, giving you like feeling of a real office space. Um, yeah, yeah. I think hopefully I've answered that. So,
Yeah. Mhm. And also, like you mentioned, working with your producer on the film earlier, overall, what was your overall experience collaborating together and getting the film made as producers as well?
yeah, no, I think like with Nicole, it was great. I think when she came on board, a lot of things were not set in stone yet. We had to like we were still looking for majority of the crew members. We were not sure about the scheduling dates, the shoot dates, everything. But Nicole, I think because of her experience, she was able to solve a lot of my problems, and I think she left the directing to me, and she just told I'll just take care of everything else that's related to the producing. So all you can do is just focus on the directing, and this kind of extended to the shoot days as well, where she took care of all the logistics, but my headache was just more dealing with the actors. So
And also, an element of the film that I enjoyed was the cinematography. Overall, how did you decide how you would visually shoot the movie with your DP as
yeah, I really love Nick's work as a cinematographer. He has really stunning compositions. I love his lighting as well, and we decided on like warm tones for the past portions. Majority of the past portions, we wanted cool tones for the majority of the present portions. And yeah, so Nick would uh, I we both would just discuss on what's the exact, like I would propose him a certain visual palette, like, and then he would give his approval or he would disagree with it, and we would just go based off that. So everything that you see, like, it's a very conscious choice that we made to bring out a certain look for this the film that would make it feel unique, but at the same time it would also not feel too like overdone. um yeah.
well? And now with the movie having its world premiere coming up at Dances with Films in LA, what does that mean to you to be able to bring the film to the festival and share it with the audience?
Yeah, no, I am. So I think like this film, I made it like without like expecting anything. Like I in a sense financially, but I wanted a festival that celebrates filmmakers, they celebrate the films than stars, who are part of those films. But I think Dances with Films is a great fit here. I think we both match because they are also looking for, films really. So yeah, I'm very excited and I'm very happy that, they are the ones that decided to work with us.
I think that was mainly it, but thank you again for taking
Thank
the
you.
time to speak with
Thank
us.
you so
Thank
much.
you.